This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
While the GTP classes saw the likes of Iamaki and Krejcik stomp the field, the Audi classes were both narrowly decided and both went to total downforce racing drivers. The contrasting storylines bring us to a complete reset with Season 2 starting today. So far, 2019 has been fascinating and unpredictable. Will that excitement continue? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the opening round of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Crackers Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Hamid, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Sean, the drivers have elected to kick things off at one of the more popular venues for the Kamel cars, Road America.
Oh, definitely, Joe, and a lot of history here at Road America for the Kamel series in real life. But listen, this track, we're going on almost 70 years since it opened up back in 1955. 4 miles, 14-turn road course. It really challenges everyone. Nobody is safe here, okay? I don't care how good you are. This is a challenging track on a beautiful facility here just between Milwaukee and Green Bay, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And, Joe, the length of this track over the years, well, it's proven to be tough on cars. Will it be tough on the Audis or the Nissans today? Well, that remains to be seen. But I think coming down the hill, I don't know. We'll see if these gearboxes can hang on today. The track, though, pretty much unchanged since they opened it back in 55. Yeah, there's been some safety improvements, but this really is some of the best racing in all of North America. And the best way for you to take a look at what it's like to get around here is to jump on board for another GSRC lap guide around America's National Park of Speed.
All right, we've got Clayton McLeod in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Road America. Coming down the front stretch, turn 1 offers a great place to pass, but the corner isn't as slow as you'd expect. That means you won't always be able to do it by outbraking someone. Be careful about dipping wheels off on the exit, and then very quickly you're into turn 3. This is easily one of the most important corners of the track because of it leading onto the Moraine Sweep. Lining up your exit and getting the power down confidently will make a huge difference to your lap time and hopefully keep you safer from attack. That's because turn 5 is one of the most popular places to overtake. It's got heavy downhill braking from a very high-speed section though, so expect a few drivers to overshoot it throughout the day. Try not to be one of them. From off of there, you'll have a short climb up to turn 6 where the crest can make braking late pretty tricky. It's not hard to miss the apex. After that, you'll switch sides quick to line up turn 7 into the hurry downs. You'll still need a lift through this fast bend, and then if you get a good run, there's sometimes a chance for a sneaky pass into turn 8. Be very careful about how greedy you are on the power coming out of this corner. The turbo lag can loop you easily. Now we're in the carousel, which is a long and patience-trying sweeper. Try not to slip wide into the marbles or else it's a fast trip to the gravel. The best thing to do here is to try to set the car up for the exit to give yourself a good launch. With all the downforce on the Nissan, it means there's no lifting through the notorious kink. The kettle bottoms will weave you through the trees, and then you'll have to stomp the brakes for Canada Corner. This is where a lot of battles wind up in a last lap dive to get by. But as always, you've got to be careful with your right foot as you return to the power. The walls are ready to collect you on either side if you spin. Through the blind 13A, you'll be feathering the throttle, then get ready for the final turn. The curved braking makes it tough to maximize your entry, but it's the exit that should really concern you. Making sure to get a run up the hill is make or break for this lap and the next one. Hopefully, you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Road America.
You see a lap up and around the hills and between the trees here at Road America. It's one thing that I feel like keeps that old school feel of this track is they haven't really worried too much about the sight lines and kept the lush foliage all around. So looking at the points, the last season went to, of course, as I mentioned, Ardo Iamaki here in the GTP standings. John Keefe managed to finish ahead of the likes of Fabian Gerber, but by a single point, and he jumped up 2 positions in that final round. Quite a run. He disposed of Justin Albrecht as well. Timo Toika rounds out your top 5. And then in the GTP Lights, we talked about Krejcik having a similar story. Look at that, 74 points between himself and Carlos Fonseca. Bronislav Robanek actually tied with Carlos, but Carlos won on countback for most higher finishes than Bronislav. Johnny Bell and Radek Sakura round out your top 5 for the 2019 Season 1 Championship. Let's take a look at the 2 GTO Championships. Sean?
I think the fans know what my favorite is. Let's see. Let's talk about those GTO standings. Well, it's Mr. Riley Thompson, yes, who gave us a bit of a lesson this week on drifting a bit. But Milan Arnozzi just 2 points behind. That's how close that battle was. It came right down to the end. The anvil, Dennis Neidhart, really just improves every season we've seen. That was his second full season here in the Kamel GT series. It got third for him. Nick Bucanos, and maybe he would consider that a bit off for him, but he finished fourth. And Phil, in and around the lake, it wasn't the greatest season he's ever had, but it was good enough for a top 5. Let's see what he's got for him this season. Now let's look at those other standings here in the GTU standings. And Adam Lindgren, GSRC's own Adam Lindgren, now for Total Downforce Racing, a nice victory there for him last season. Hideki Koivitso just 4 points behind. That's how close it was, folks, in both categories. Reed Miller had a solid run for a top 3, and Sergey Serbin finishes in 4th. First time we see him in the top 5, and Matthew Jette, good enough to finish 5th in the standings last season, Joe. But this one, boy, I'll tell you what, it's going to get off to a great start here at Road America. Only got 35 cars, though, to get us started today.
Relatively smaller field for them, especially for Road America. And just want to note, both of those championships in the GTO and GTU decided in the final round. Let's take a look at the race details for this opener, though. 40 minutes, so they're doing the sprint format here at Road America, and that means there is no scheduled stop for fuel for either car. Now, there's the scoring down below. You can see they get 25 points for win all the way down to 20th place, and they don't have 20 cars in either class, so everybody's going to score points today. They have no spare car, so if you do damage your car, you're going to have to go in and get it repaired, and it is a long pit lane, so that will be costly. As always, we like to mention, if you enjoy watching this content, make sure and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network, where we're presented on today for the Kamel GT series. All you got to do to subscribe is click the big red button that says that up in the corner. Make sure and do that. You won't miss a moment here on IESN. Right now in qualifying, up at the top, no surprises, last season's champion, picking up where he left off. He's got the pole in the GTP class, and not really big surprises over in GTO. Looks like Joni Hagner back again with his excellent speed in the Audi.
Joni, no surprise. We see him at the top just about every weekend he's here, and really good effort so far here in the GTOs. Rob Olenek nipping at his heels, not bad, only about 0.4 of a second off in qualifying. And all the big hitters are here in the GTO class, just about all of them, except for seeing, well, a couple of changes in car choice. Who was that I mentioned earlier, Joe, that's moved over? I'm forgetting. Oh, Phil, in and around the lake, that guy. Now in a Nissan. He's abandoned us in the Audis this season, I think.
Yeah, he's willing to hop between them like a lot of the regulars are. They tend to kind of just do what they feel like each season, since both cars are a lot of wicked fun, but they're incredibly challenging no matter which one you you get into. As a director has been hanging around me too much, he says, in and around the cars. So I like that for Phil Haig. Phil's going to come across and finish his second lap. He was in 8th. He improves up to 6th with a 50.2. Iamaki improved on his second laps, keeping him clear of Fabian Gerber, so he retains the pole for now. Milan Arnozzi currently in 7th. Second lap was not an improvement, so, or excuse me, no, it was an improvement. So Milan now up to 6th.
Joe, you know, for those that were watching the Lotus 49 race, had a very, very hot track there in Watkins Glen, New York. Now we find ourselves here in, well, beautiful Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and it's a pretty day. It's partly cloudy, 77 degrees, 78 degrees on your monitor there, 102 degrees Fahrenheit on track. Sure to go up just a little bit as these clouds move across this huge facility. A lot of opportunities here for shade and for sun, Joe.
And 102 degrees will cause a little bit of slipping and sliding. So we expect grip to be something of an issue as qualifying comes to an end. We let, I think, just one or two cars are trying to finish their laps, but the time has reached zero, so they are no longer able to. That brings us to our starting grid for round one. As mentioned, Ardo Iamaki is going to be starting on the pole in the GTPs. Fabian Gerber will be following him on the front row in second. Tobias Gerber right behind him in third. The Gerber brothers really continue to show incredible speed between both of them, with Nick Schneider starting in fourth and Jamie Hall rounding out your top five. Phil Lake will be on the outside of row 3 and 6 with Jamie Wilson starting P7. Luis Emerton continuing to improve race after race. He starts in 8th. His qualifying getting a little bit better, we have to say. He tends to be one who fights for podiums just through sheer consistency. Fabian Jungbluth will be starting 9th and Radar Anderson in P10. Then you've got John Keefe starting 11th, followed by Mike Kopak on the outside of that row in 12th. Jacob Hohenkamp will be 13th and David Slee 14th. Hideki Koivisto hops out of his Lotus 49 into a Nissan here for 15th starting. And a good qualifying for Don Peak. His second lap improved a couple tenths, and that puts him in 16th. Ryan Lang will be P17, and Mark Shelton will start 18th. Let's go to the Audis.
Let's get the GTO field set here. You've got Joni Hogner starting on the pole today, right next to Rob Olenek. No big surprises there. Row 2 going to be Nick Bucanos and Dennis, the Anvil Neidhart. On to row 3, James Walker in the number 25, Milan Ernosi. Qualifies 6th today. Riley Thompson, maybe a little bit off speed, maybe sandbagging. We'll see there on row 4. He'll start 7th. Reed Miller, the Canadian, is here. Just hopped across the border, hopped at his car, and is qualified 8th. Adam Lindgren, he'll start 9th, next to Tanner McCullough in the number 9. Ben Laughter, there he is, all the way back there in 11th, qualifying. Giorgio Pasquemi is with us today. He's starting 12th. Sergei Serbin, 13th, 14th for Michael Haynes. Caden Ben is here today. He'll start 15th in the number 20. Javier Lago will start 16th. And Tony de Brodre de Alson from France will start 17th, Joe.
Few newcomers, or at least if not newcomers to the series, but to the broadcast, we believe. Drivers that I don't think have shown up before, as the Porsche pace car leads them around for the pace lap. Rolling start, as is tradition here in the Kamel GT series. Already they're trying to split the cars up. That's one nice thing about the lap length around here, Sean, is traffic usually not as much of an issue due to a number of factors, but lap length definitely owing to that quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're separated by about 16 seconds, the classes in lap length, but we're talking just north of two minutes for the Audis, just under 2 minutes for the Nissans. Yeah, it's a bit of a trek, but we're about to get it done here. I think it'll probably wind up being somewhere around 20 to 22 laps, something like that, Joe.
Heading down to one of the more popular places to pass from the Moraine Sweep into Turn 5. This is the one you were telling me about, that you seem to think we're going to see a few popped engines on this downhill braking zone.
Man, yeah, it could definitely happen. I mean, we know about the gearbox problems that we've seen and in several races. I go back to the Majors event, and boy, they were popping motors all over the place at Sebring. Coming down the hill again, one of the more challenging braking zones in all of road racing, and you're just carrying so much speed coming down there through the Moraine Sweep down to 5. I just fear that we may get a couple of DNFs before this thing is over, just because they had trouble getting through the gearbox, Joe.
Hopefully that doesn't happen and we get everybody coming towards the end and taking the checkered flag. So they now come through the carousel and onto one of the fastest parts of the circuit, the run down through the kink, through the kettle bottoms, and into Canada Corner. The kink, this is always a talking point no matter what series shows up here. I expect flat out in the Nissans, but maybe not in the Audis. I mean, is this going to cause multi-class issues?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. We've got a history of that. We've seen it over the years. We will see it today. It's not full bore in the Audi through the kink. There is a little bit of lift involved and a little bit, obviously, a different line involved than a Nissan has. So we could see trouble when they finally get around. But again, because of the length of the lap here and the difference in speed, it'll take a while for that to develop.
This is Canada Corner that they're coming to right now, the GTP class that you're seeing. Another very popular place for overtakes to happen. And then you rush through a few more of the trees before you finally come out into the open through Bill Mitchell Bend, and then the final turn leading up that big hill to the start-finish line. We're going to see who can reach that first after 40 minutes today. The Porsche Pace car comes out of the final corner towards that pit entry. Hopefully we don't see anybody have to take into there today. They shouldn't need to, or for any scheduled reasons. Iamaki does not wait at all. He immediately gets on the power as the green flag waves, and we start another season of the iRacing Kamel GT series. Well, the top two have really thinned out. Back for third, it is very close as we've got a clump of cars with Tobias Gerber leading the likes of Jamie Hall. Also a battle between Schneider and Emerton as they work their way through. Schneider and Lake. But it looks like everybody's through clean, so let's go to the GTOs.
Hogner got a great jump out of the final turn, but Rob Olenek already on the attack, taking the position from him here up to P1. Dropping Yoni Hogner. There on the start, everybody's starting to drop in the line as they come down the hill here into this right-hander.
And as that was happening, we had a big problem in the GTP class, a little bit of contact. You could see one of the victims there off to the side of the track. Looks like we got the replay ready. I think Nick Schneider was involved in that. We could see Hohenkamp got a bit of it. Yeah, there you see Schneider going off. Hohenkamp had to take off track. And then he spun it on the grass, got tipped around, and then was back into the wall. And it looked like he avoided it. Yep.
Boy, what a tough break there for Hohenkamp early.
Number of cars had to either check up or actually got into each other because of that problem with Schneider. Managed to get going back in 8th. But otherwise, the cars in front of them were not affected. So that caused something of a split between the two classes. In the meantime, let's check back in on the GTOs because I think we've got a bit of a change.
Yeah, Yoni's back in the lead. He took it back from Olenek, but it continues to be those two. Mukanos, Neidhart doing a great job. They're holding station right now. They've kind of dropped a bit of a distance back to Arnozzi, James Walker, Riley Thompson, all stuck back there, still kind of dropped in the line. It's just behind them. There's another battle going on. It's McCullough, Reed Miller, side by side through the turn.
And indeed, Ben Laughter also trying to take a little poke into there with them battling, but does not go off. They'll work their way towards the final corner, trying to get the power down as soon as possible to fly up this hill. Let's see what the draft does for these cars as we ride on board with Nick Mukanos in third. He's got a good run on the likes of Rob Olenek, but just not enough of one to make a pass happen.
Well, listen, there's plenty of draft, there's plenty of grunt, but it's also plenty early, Joe. We just got started, so let's settle in, get a pace going, and then we can talk about fighting. They're already, like I said, they're already distancing the field.
Riley Thompson with a monster drift. We need a replay of this moment.
Again?
Yeah, again, after we've just posted a highlight earlier this week, he's going to lose the place. But here on the replay, this was in turn 3. You can see he gets in a little bit of a battle with the likes of James Walker. That's in the number 25 you see there. He's got the inside, but then gives it up, takes a little bit of grass. Now watch this. Holy cow. Sideways through the whole thing. We're going to give this an onboard. Let's watch the hands.
Boy, did Adam Lindgren get a great shot of that. Bit of a lesson.
There was actually very little hand movement.
Yeah. He's getting good at that, Joe.
He's getting too used to it. In the meantime, oh my goodness, we got a big checkup behind the Tanner McCullough in the front of a lot of action. And, getting in front of a lot of action. It was Sergey Serbin who was checking everybody up, and McCullough went clear around the outside, but now he's completely off the track. What is going on?
Oh!
He's into the wall.
He's done.
Meanwhile,
Wow.
we had 2 wide that we saw on screen. That was Caden Bean and Ben Laughter through the kink. Brave stuff, action everywhere. They sorted out, so let's look at the replay of what happened to Tanner.
He's going to drop the left front into the grass just a little bit, and then it's church from there. It just pulled him in, got him full out of the grass, and just loses it. What a hard shunt there, and it ended his race.
What a shame for the Canadian, because this move was incredible. He powered around the outside. Yeah, just that little clip of the grass, and then he didn't want to bring it back on, and once he hit that bump, I think, like you said, his day was over. Haven't given love to the GTPs in a while. It is still Ardo Iamaki up at the top, but not by a lot. Fabian Gerber is giving chase. He's only half a second back. Indeed, they've got quite a gap back to Jamie Hall in third, about 1.5 seconds. So they're pulling clear of the Dirty Torque car that is currently finishing out the podium. We've still got 35 minutes left of racing to go with all the action that we've seen. I have a feeling after being beat to the championship, Gerber is looking to redeem himself and add another notch to his belt. Certainly putting a challenge on for our current champion. Oh, we've had a problem with Don Peak at the back of the pack. He had a challenge from David Slee. And actually there was hard contact.
Yeah, I don't think that was all done. Looks like Slee, maybe right there in the apex of the turn.
I don't think I'm in the right position to make a judgment on this one, so I'll leave it to you, Sean.
Well, I don't know if I want to make a judgment. You know, actually, Don clipped the grass there in the apex. That might have started it all, to be honest with you. Just as he was coming through, he dropped the two left sides down there in the grass for just a brief moment. That probably got him offline a little bit. And now he's in.
Yeah, completely offline and into the pits now. So he'll have a lot of repairs to do. Meanwhile, we've jumped back up to second place. Fabian Gerber dropped off a couple tenths on Ardo Iamaki. The Finn has responded.
Did you expect anything less?
No, not really. With the incredible performance that he put on last season, I think it was something like 7 wins over the course of the season, which is more than half the races. So Ardo continues to do what he's been doing. Let's jump back in the pack because we got a nice battle for 6. Jamie Wilson and Nick Schneider. As what a big bobble for Jamie Wilson is going to hand it over very quickly. Schneider easily slots in this P6.
Joe, we've seen a lot of that here early. A lot of just getting offline a little bit and then having to give up multiple positions or unfortunately wrecking the car, one or the other, but we've seen a lot of it.
And it's not over yet for Jamie Wilson. Here comes Luis Emerton. The driver in 8th place has a nice little slipstream, just enough of one that he's going to duck to the inside. Coming up to turn 1, side by side into the corner. Braver onto the brakes. Did he get it load up enough? He did. A little bit of swinging back for Jamie Wilson with a poke to the inside, but the over-under is not enough for the number 4 car. So give P7 to Luis Emerton. Let's check in on the GTOs. You've got an update on Riley Thompson.
Yeah, well, you know what? He managed to work his way around Milana Arnoxi finally and is now found himself in P5. He's starting to close a little bit on the anvil up there in 4th. He's done a great job of hanging on to 4th since the race started. There's been literally no change at the top in the top 4. It's Yoni Hog, Rob Olenek, Nick Buchanan, Dennis Neidhart, still really, really close to each other, still fighting for this thing. But it's Thompson we gotta worry about because he's coming up. Probably won't be long before he catches Neidhart. Now the other problem is that Thompson still has a mirror full, and also not discouraged by being dropped by him. In fact, I think he's used it as motivation. He's grabbed right onto the bumper here of Riley. And James Walker, who we've not seen a bunch, Joe, the number 25, well, he's there also, hanging out with these guys today.
Yep, holding on in a P7. Got a little 3-car train to try to chase down the top 4. The gap at about 3.5 seconds between Thompson and Neidhart. If he does catch them, I'll be impressed, because I thought for sure that his hopes for a win were not looking good, considering the top group had started to stretch away and Riley was mired in the midst of this group. But he's made his way to the front of the train. He's trying to lead the charge. We'll see how it fares as the race goes on. We're already 10 minutes in. And I mentioned a little bit earlier about Nick Schneider fighting with the likes. Oh, and he's actually just gone off course. He was blinking a lot, and now he's had some serious trouble. He handed over a couple of the spots that he just gained. How was this? Oh, this was side by side with Tobias Gerber. He was actually in a battle. Came back in the same spot. One of the pitfalls of simulated racing online. What that did do is allow Luis Emerton to spy an opportunity and snuck by Tobias Gerber, who then had to fend off the likes of Jamie Wilson. So Luis Emerton, I said he is a better racer than he is a qualifier, and yet again proving it.
Boy, all the action seems to be up with the Nissans right now, Joe. Most of the Audis really just behaving themselves at the moment. Not a whole lot of change for position. With just under 30 minutes to go, probably still about another 10 to 15 minutes out from anybody making a serious move.
We don't often get to talk about team tactics here in this series, but I'm looking at 3rd and 4th in the GTP class. Jamie Hall and Phil Lake. We're used to seeing them duke it out in the GTO class in the same team, but that seems to have changed around. Oh, and as I say that, I'm sorry, we've got a big accident in the kink involving Ryan Lang.
Uh-oh.
This was traffic. This was absolutely traffic. They came up on the likes of Tony de Baudry d'Asson. And with cars almost trying to go 4 wide, anybody could tell you that was not going to work.
They all got there at the same time, Joe. Tony, I'm not putting this on Tony.
No, they did nothing wrong. It was a perfect storm. And then who was that getting tipped off as we got a battle for the lead? Oh, this is the GTPs. Fabian Gerber and Ardo Iamaki have swapped places. Now, when did Fabian get on top of him like that? It was on the front stretch. They had caught a little bit of traffic, but it was just, frankly, a good run on the part of Fabian to slipstream by.
Well, it's time. So this is the first cycle, Joe, where we've seen the multi-class traffic, and well, already it's kind of off to a rough start. Tanner McCullough checking in the chat, letting us know he that incident meatballed the car, and well, he just drove it off the track instead of getting in the way of that battle.
That makes a little bit more sense the way he dove off so quickly. But look at these cars going through traffic now. These are our 2 leaders, Gerber and Iamaki, trying to work their way through the GTO cars. Gerber having to squeeze to the inside of Caden Bean. And behind them, an incident with both Dirty Torque cars. Jamie Hall finds himself turned around. Little contact with Sergei Serbin.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here all of a sudden?
This actually it started with just Jamie. Oh,
high curb. Yep.
Serbin,
Oh, man.
Innocent victim. Did not know that he was going to wind up in front of him in that split second. This is Hall's perspective. Wow, that snapped so incredibly quick. So this promotes Phil Lake up to 3rd and Emerton now to 4th, who is actually right behind Phil Lake, so he could get on the podium.
I'm stunned by this battle.
And the battle for the lead, you could see on screen getting close once again. Iamaki took a peek down into turn 5, but was not able to pull it off. can't catch our breath in edgewise as Fabian Gerber continues to lead the way, but also has to keep fighting with a mess of GTO cars.
Yeah, and it's been a mess. I've got to be honest. I didn't see the amount of attrition we've seen. I didn't see that coming today, Joe.
I did not either. This is a wild start to the season.
Yeah, this is a familiar track, too. I mean, these drivers run this track every season, in some cases twice when they do a special event. I mean, it's, yeah. And I don't think it's the new drivers. I think it's just maybe a combination of a hot track and or a somewhat hot track. It's not blazing hot out there. I don't know. Maybe got the grip off a bit on these cars.
The temperature hasn't really gone up too drastically. Just 102 degrees still.
Jamie Hall with 10 minutes of repair there, Joe.
Oh.
He's done.
Now, we've been keeping half an eye on the battle for Riley Thompson to try and run down Neidhart, but he hasn't made any inroads since we last looked at him. Yeah, that gap has stayed the same.
He hasn't, Joe, and that's a concern. I think Milan has just been good enough. His pace has been great, but yeah, Riley not picking it up. I don't want to say he's mirror driving, but he's concerned about those cars behind him, man. Milan Arnozzi has given up nothing here at this point. As he has some traffic behind him to worry about getting around as the Nissans are coming by.
Yeah,
Jamie
on
Wilson.
screen. On screen we were watching the battle between Emerton and Phil Lake. The traffic that was Riley Thompson almost offered an opportunity for Emerton to sneak through, but the number 17 car is going to have to try that little bit harder to get in and around the lake.
You got it in there, didn't you?
It's
good.
An opportunity. I had to take it. Had to redeem myself for a breath in edgewise, because once I said it, I realized what I said. Still having to go the long way around through the carousel as the downforce on these Nissans allow them to overtake the hard way on these GTO cars. Oh, who was that off though? That was Dennis Neidhart. That cost him some time, unfortunately. That battle going through, that's the likes of Nick Schneider still chasing Jamie Wilson. Wilson, another driver who's climbed quite a bit forward, started 7th, currently 5th. I'm sure he'd like to keep that. Nick Schneider would like to deny him that opportunity. The dirty torque cars, Rob Olenek just ahead at the wrong place, and he gets turned around. Jamie Wilson facing the wrong way out of the final corner. Checked up for the likes of Rob Olenek. And unfortunately, Schneider did not get the memo.
Yeah, well, I commend him for not running Rob over, but boy, that came at a cost.
Watch from the UKNI driver's gearbox, and suddenly there's the scoop. Boy, these cars such on a nice knife's edge. It is difficult to hold on as soon as you get that little tip. Meanwhile, we've jumped back to the GTO lead. Yoni Hagner, who's actually fighting with Rob Olenek for that lead, has been holding the gap. They're going to be split by the likes of Tobias Gerber and Nick Schneider for a moment.
I've been happy with Olenek's pace. I've got to be honest with you. Honestly, this has split these two up just about as much as they've been split up during this race. Now, Hagner's got to deal with the same thing, letting them get by, but it catches him on the straight. So, disadvantage there to Rob Olenek. He's got to get back on the hammer here with just over 20 minutes to go. I think he's still got a great chance to work out a victory here over Yoni Hagner if he just stays patient and keeps running hard laps like he's been doing all race.
Well, the way the traffic's been going, it seems like opportunities will arise if you just catch a little bit of a break. We've only got half the race left to go now, so he's still got time. They are pulling away from the likes of Nick Mukanos, who's hold 3 seconds back. He's had a nice battle with Neidhart, who's regained the ground since his off about a lap and a half ago. See them breaking down into Canada corner. Neidhart in the blue and black machine, and the orange, blue, and black car, the number 11, that you saw. Excuse me, teal and purple there on the likes of Dennis Neidhart.
Can it be black and blue? Can we just... Are you opposed to black and blue, or are you like blue and... I don't know.
I mean, you could say Mechanos' car.
It's a great 80s metal band, by the way, black and blue. Good reference there. Here for the Kamel GT series.
Absolutely. They're going to be overtaken by another GTP car. This one going to be the likes of Jamie Wilson. After him getting turned around in the final corner, he returns in 8th and has a lot of work to do. Tell you what, let's go to Nick Schneider and Tobias Gerber. I think Schneider's going to get a spot after Gerber made a mistake in turn 5.
That's all it took was a small mistake. We've seen a few of those today. And
battle for the lead, and Rob Olenek getting it under the radar.
Yoni got wide, and you're going to see here on the replay, Yoni's going to get up on those curbs a little bit too much. He's going to run it out wide. It's going to open up an opportunity for Rob Olenek to make the pass.
Saw the door open and put his foot right in there. Now, Yoni Hagner is right back on him now. So certainly not going away, and they haven't really lost any time to third place behind them. Nick Mucano still about 3 seconds ahead, so they can continue to fight if they want. Rob Olenek doing what he can. And wow, look at it. Yeah, Yoni's pushing.
He's pushing, and he got to be careful here. Poor DRS sign, which we're not using today, but hashtag DRS.
I don't think many people think poor DRS signs, honestly, if we're honest here.
Yeah, I talked about the patience that Olenek needed. That was exactly what I was talking about. He just waited and waited, and he got an opportunity, but man, Hagner's back on it now.
He's right up on him. He is going to get the slipstream. Look at him start to gain as they climb the hill and across the start-finish line back to the inside. Rob does not cover him off. Yoni Hagner, all he has to do is outbrake him, and he can't do that. Here comes Rob back at him using the grip of the racing line. He's a little bit wide, but he keeps it on the track. He gives Yoni Hagner something to think about. Down to turn 3, the battle continues, still door to door. Hagner has the inside, but once again, the momentum slightly in favor of Rob Olenek. It is a drag race down the moraine sweep into turn 5. This downhill braking zone. Who is going to be braver? They've got traffic coming up behind them. Hideki Koivisto could break things up. The inside in favor of Rob Olenek. But it looks like that outside line is just slightly better with a 4-wheel drive on these Audis. Hideki Koivisto is absolutely bottled up behind this battle for the lead, which is still side by side. Still no one willing to give up. Yoni Hagner on the inside as they go too wide through turn 7, now into 8. And nobody is giving an inch. My goodness, they come to the carousel. Surely this has got to be where Olenek has to give up the ghost off the racing line. And he says, no, this battle is on. It is not over yet. This has been nearly the whole lap now. Through the kink side by side, yes, indeed they are, and more GTP cars are going to get bottled up behind them. This is John Keefe coming through, who is a lap down, thankfully, so that's not a battle for position, into Canada corner. Nobody can out.
Rob, boy, the rear end was out of the car.
He held onto it, but it finally gave it to Yoni Hagner. This isn't the first. Oh, and another bobble into the final corner as Olenek struggles to hold on to the car. I think he's taken the best out of those tires.
I'm sitting here with that Clarkson smile, that Jeremy Clarkson smile, just watching this, amazed.
Oh, we're going to watch Rob when he finally lost out on this battle. He made him work for it. Yeah, just too hot into the bend. That's all it took.
This has resulted in Nick Mucanos, though, and Dennis Neidhart catching him again. That battle, there wasn't a four-way battle. It was 3 packs of 2. Well, now it's up at the front. We've got a 4-way battle again.
Well, that looked like... Oh, and Luis Emerton, his good run comes to an end. And it was traffic. Adam Lindgren in the kink. Well, not quite the kink even.
No. And in fact, I'm afraid Luis got out of the grass there, got wide, and I think that's what started that.
Yeah, Nick Schneider tried to avoid it, just came up to it at the wrong time. He picked the left side, and Adam, unfortunately, also picked the left side. Just a slight bit of miscommunication, I fear.
We're on board with Adam here.
If he had stayed a little bit to the right like he weaved the first time, I think they both would have been okay.
They would have made it through. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Joe. That's what I thought initially. But tough break for both drivers after surviving most of this race with now just under 15 minutes to go.
We come back to the battle for the lead in the GTO class. Just to give you an idea of what I was about to say, even though that battle was fun, they were a whole 2 seconds slower that last lap because of all that side-by-side action.
Yeah.
This is David Slee coming through now. Go ahead.
I'm going to be honest. I said it a moment ago. I mean, really, that battle opened up a tremendous opportunity for Mukanos and Neidhart here.
As they get up to the back of the top 2. Now, Thompson has gained about half a second on that pack, but with still 3+ seconds between them, he's not threatening for the moment. That could still change in the final 13 minutes as we ride on board with the Glacier Racing driver Yoni Hagner, looking back at Rob Olenek. This is a tooth and nail battle between these two. I don't think we've seen the likes of this since, was it Okayama nearly a year ago, between Thompson and I think it was Lake that did something similar at Okayama.
Yeah, and I believe that was it. I remember the clip.
Yeah. Immediately that came to mind when they kept staying side by side through every corner. Here you see those two still threatening in the back. Nick Mukanos trying to stay with it. Not missing too much up at the front of the GTPs. Gerber still leads Iamaki now 1.7 seconds back. So that gap has extended. Gerber responding now that he's managed to get up to P1. Down through the kettle bottoms, weaving their way among the trees. They got any traffic coming up behind them, I wonder? Because that could play a factor. Not for a while. They do have some... Oh, and... this is a lap car in the same class, actually, with them.
Oh, trouble!
Oh! That's Tony de Baudry d'Asson. Oh, and more cars almost get into him as he tries to clear the track. Nick Mukanos involved in that. Riley Thompson actually caught a bit of it, and we'll have to take to the pits as we watch the replay.
Nick Mukanos just T-bones him. Nowhere to go for Nick at all.
And that slight tap that we saw at the end of the replay was enough to send Riley Thompson
it destroys his race.
To the pits.
Yep.
With suspension damage. Oh. Wow, Mukanos came to a complete halt there with that hit.
Absolutely nuts. We're going to go on board Riley Thompson here. You already made the wild ride reference this morning, Joe, so I'll stay away from it. But this is going to get very, very wicked here for Riley.
Yeah,
he tries to get the car into the pits here, and it just fails.
We didn't. You'll be glad that we didn't actually show it, but yeah. He eventually wound up in the wall from that death wobble from his suspension.
Right, the death wobble. Who is it that used that the other night? Was that Jacek used that, I think, during a Lionheart race?
Yeah. So,
Kind of my new favorite racing term.
I've also heard it termed the hospital wobble. So, as we come back to the lead, now I may have called things a little bit too early because Iamaki now comes back to Fabian Gerber. After 1.7 second gap, it is less than half a second between these two. It's hard to pick who is going to come away with this one because just when you think that one has the edge over the other driver immediately replies. We also got some traffic. James Walker, 5th place driver in the GTOs up ahead. Think they'll catch him on the front stretch maybe, so they could get away lucky.
I'm so glad I got to sit in on this one today, Joe.
Nick is missing out, man.
Yeah, he really is. This one has not lacked for excitement. Nick is going to have a lot of catching up to do.
On the front stretch, a long ways back, Artur Iamaki just gives the likes of Gerber something to think about, not a serious pass attempt. Right on the gearbox of Fabian. Both these drivers have been champions in the GTP class, we should point out. This is a battle of titans. And if it does go south, while Philip Lake is not close to them, if they have a wreck, which we've seen plenty of times so far this race, we could see Philip Lake wind up winning. Stays right with him as they come up to the back of Milan Arnozzi. Arnozzi tries to stay out of the way. This gives a good opportunity for Artur Iamaki. Looks around the outside, but Gerber defends. Forces him to regroup. Now they come up to Dennis Neidhart. Oh, and in the kink. This is another spot where it's really awful for the GTP cars. You can see all the momentum this puts in favor of Artur Iamaki. Comes up to the inside, pokes his nose in. He's given space at the apex, but he's not able to complete the pass.
We've got a two-car battle at the head of both classes, but this is the great one. I'm going to be honest with you, Joe. I think there's real potential here for an overtake before this race is over. I'm starting to wonder, though, Hogner really starting to open things up on Rob.
Yeah, this is much closer as Gerber feels the need to go defensive. He does fend off Iamaki, but just as they come up to the battle for the lead in the GTOs, Olenek has to take to the outside to let them through. This does put a car between the likes of Gerber and Iamaki momentarily and provides some breathing space to Fabian. Now, Joni Hagner, the next one that has to deal with these two. That slows up Fabian Gerber on the braking as Hagner has to go wide, and that hands some time back to Rob Olenek as well.
Stay in it, Rob. You got a chance here.
7 minutes left to go. Laps starting to run out. Ryan Lang in their own class up ahead of them coming into the hurry downs. He's going to hold the inside. Let them through. Nicely done by the number 27. Both battles calming down just a little bit. And as I say that, look at Iamaki close under braking from the 007 cam. Looking very strong into Canada corner. Onto the main straight. This is where Iamaki has also looked like he's got the edge over Fabian Gerber. And once again, he's reeling him in. I wonder if he's got some lower downforce settings. He really reels him in up to the braking zone. Gerber having to defend a second time in a row. Takes a look down into turn 3. He could get blocked in. This is Michael Haynes, and the Audi up ahead of them tries to stay out of the way, goes completely off track, and the Finn does not have the chance to try and sneak by. Down towards turn 5 now. Artu Iamaki absolutely putting a pressure cooker on to Gerber as now they go side by side, but the wheel-to-wheel racing still does not result in P1 for the number 3 car. He just cannot make it stick. Five minutes to go now.
Maybe 2 or 3 laps to go at the line, I'm thinking. 2 or 3 very, very exciting laps. You know what? Just a quick update. Olenek is starting to reel in Joni Hagner again. Only about 0.7 of a second and getting closer every lap.
It's always a good problem to have when we find ourselves having to switch back and forth between battles for the lead in both classes in this series as we ride on board with Olenek looking ahead at Joni Hagner. Finns in line for the win in both classes, continuing to prove the might of that country's racing prowess.
So you think Rob's had a tough race? Been fighting hard? Look at the grit on that windshield. I mean, he's... That's digging, baby.
Ooh, and some lap traffic holding up the likes of Joni Hagner. Now that costs him some time, but not the position yet, at least. Stays with him, coming up to the final corner. The front... Oh, and we've had a problem with Jungbluth in the GTP class. Single car incident. Spinning it off of the Canada corner.
I think he got caught with a little bad throttle management there, Joe, is what I'm thinking. Back to the power a little too quickly. He's on top of that rumble strip, and that is a good place to spin the tires and get out of shape.
Did a good job of collecting it before he ran into the tires, though. Gets it going once again. Unfortunately for Jungbluth, he's down in 6th after that. That's Nick Schneider chasing as... Is this back to the lead we've gone? Looks like it is indeed. Iamaki still has not overtaken Gerber. These are the drivers that have started first and second in this race, but swapped the orders since the grid. Gerber managing to get up to the lead. Iamaki now chasing, trying to reclaim where he started. And this will not be white flag. This will be 2 to go this time by.
We'll squeeze 2 laps in about 2.5 minutes here.
Oh, look at him stay right in the tire tracks.
That's where the grip is, Joe.
Comes back to the racing line, hoping that maybe he could outbrake the likes of Gerber, but it doesn't happen. Downhill into turn 3. Onto the moraine sweep. A little bit wide on the exit for Fabian Gerber. Iamaki finds himself with a decent run. Is it going to be enough, though? Into turn 5. We've seen some pass attempts into here. He is way down the inside. He is way deep on the brakes, but he is not to the apex first. And Fabian just not gonna let him take it away.
This is a battle between the number 2 car and the number 3 car.
and the highest rated in GTP, the only one rated higher is down and leading the GTO class right now.
Right, and maybe not for long. I got to be honest, because Olenek is, he's looking strong here. They'll take the white flag at the line. They got traffic coming through. I think that's David Slee getting through there. I'm sorry, Mike Kopak. Yellow car.
Yeah, that
guess.
holds up Hagner just a bit, coming off of 5. Olenek takes a tiny look, just a small one, and comes back to the racing line, following behind the likes of Hagner. Meanwhile, we are now getting the white flag on the main straight. Fabian Gerber has managed to get himself up front, but can he hold on to it for one more lap? He is going to have to use every bit of grip to clutch that winning position. And Ardo Iamaki, who I thought had a good run up the front stretch, did not seem to have as good a one as it first appeared. So as they work their way down the moraine sweep now, Fabian's looking a lot stronger. We've seen Ardo Iamaki be so much closer in laps past. He's going to have to need something special, or maybe lap traffic. This is Gregorio Buscemi. Oh, and that does it right there. He looks to the outside at turn 6. Defensive move from Fabian Gerber keeps him behind. Not missing anything with the GTOs right now. This is the closer battle that we've got going on. Iamaki continues to threaten. They have no lap traffic in the form of GTO cars ahead of them, just a few GTP drivers, which I'm not sure that they'll actually catch before this is over.
Actually, they're rolling up on, is that Mark Shelton? Maybe they will catch him, Joe. Ooh,
I hope
Shelton
it doesn't.
a little slow through Canada there.
I hope this does not play a factor. 2 more corners to deal with. Fabian Gerber doing what he can to hold him off. Iamaki could find himself a run off the corner. Fabian needs to be as smooth as butter as he comes off the final turn. And I think he's got it. Indeed, it's going to be Fabian Gerber taking in the opening win here in the Kamel GT Series. Let's go over to the GTO class, which is still duking it out for P1.
And Rob just got a hell of a run there through down Hurry Downs and into turn 8. They go through the carousel. He's just locked onto the rear bumper of Joni Hagner.
Coming out of the carousel into the kink now. Can Hagner do it? Olenek just didn't get a good run through the kink. That might be all she wrote, but you never know. Down into Canada corner.
The great equalizer here. Let's see.
Oh, he sends it in deep, maybe a little bit too deep. That could deny him any further opportunities as Rob Olenek slips backwards once again. Joni Hagner, who put himself on the pole, comes out of the final turn. Barring a misshift, I'd say he's got this. Climbing up the hill, the Glacier Racing driver is going to win today in round 1. Meanwhile, down in 6. Oh, we did have a battle. Ben Laughter and Caden Bean, but he's been able to pull away. It's now 7th. Reed Miller, where did he come from?
Well, that's kind of where he's been hanging out most of the race, but now he's giving Ben a run for his money. Like you said, Laughter able to get away. It looks like he'll be okay for P6. But this not over. Here we go. Reed Miller got a run.
Got a run. Up the hill. He's to the inside. Is this enough? It's going to be awful close, but it's not enough. Just edging him out by inches. Caden Bean manages to take 7th.
What a run for the New Yorker there. Caden picked up a lot of spots in this race.
Look at that. Oh, less than half a car.
Nice. Always love the photo finish on GSRC.
With that, I believe we are going to take a little bit of a break as we'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. And between then and now, we're going to have all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel on your screen. So stick around. Welcome back to Road America. Round 1 gave us a stunner here in the Kamel GT series, especially at the top. The battle for the lead in both classes came down to the final lap, and Fabian Gerber, who didn't start on the pole, managed to get up that single position that he could climb to take the win. Ardo Iamaki made him work for it. It was 2/10 at the line between them. Phil Lake managed to finish third, and we really can't discount Phil because he was only about 5 seconds back, so he certainly kept pace with those top two. Tobias Gerber, however, despite qualifying in third, wound up in fourth and dropped off significantly, 28 seconds back to the number 16 car. Jamie Wilson wound up with a top 5, and then Fabian Jungblut, with an almost run-in with the wall late in the race, came back to 6th place. Niklas Schneider finished P7, and Hideki Koivisto really came forward from 15th on the grid to 8th. Same thing with David Slee going from 14th to 9th, and then John Keefe wound up the first car lap down in the top 10. Mark Shelton finishes 11th, with Ryan Lang coming home 12th, and Mike Kopak finishing 13th. Let's go to the GTOs.
All right, Joe, I'll get that in for us here. Yoni Hagner starts on the pole. Well, that's exactly where he finishes. Great run by Yoni. Rob Olenek, listen, Rob fought as hard as anybody in this race and comes just a little short at the end. Dennis, the Anvil Neidhart, well, folks, it's a podium finish for him. He hangs on, avoids some of the big trouble back there, and goes P3. Milan Arnozzi, boy, a great run there for him. He'll take that 4th place finish. James Walker, we talked about him early and the fact that, well, we just hadn't seen him much. Well, hey, his efforts today pay off for a P5. Ben Laughter, that'll be a 6th place finish for him. He picked up a bunch of spots, but nobody more than Caden Bin. The New Yorker finishes 7th after taking down Reed Miller there at the end of the race. And that's going to be an 8th place finish for Reed. Giorgio Buscemi, who did not talk about a whole lot today, unfortunately, he'll finish 9th, right in front of Adam Lindgren, who is just about 3 seconds behind. Adam, take a top 10 run here in the Kamel GT Series any day. And then just behind him in 11th, it's going to be Michael T.S. Haynes from Florida. He'll finish 11th. And, well, then we'll mix in a couple of Nissan drivers there. Don Peak, unfortunately, not able to finish this one after a bad incident there. Luis Emerton right there with him. Then we'll go to Riley Thompson, who had his race ended early also. He'll finish 12th today overall in the GTOs. Nick Bucanos, a 13th place finish for him in the GTOs. Tony Deason, Tony going to finish 14th, making what I believe was his debut here today. Javier Lago, 15th for him. Sergey Zerbin, 16th. Then we go down to Jamie Hall, and these a lot of do not finishes here today. Jamie finishes 16th in class. Reed Anderson, he's going to finish 17th in class. And Tanner McCullough, well, he'll round out the Audi field, 17, and then 18 cars for the Nissans today. Jacob Hohenkamp, of course, an early victim in this one. He'll finish 35th overall, Joe.
We have our winner in the GTP class ready to talk to us, Fabian Gerber, who certainly put on a show. Fabian, normally when I see that a driver went from second to first and then led the rest of the laps, I say that you didn't look back from there. But I think you did a lot of looking back in this race. Fabian, you got a copy? Well, seem to have some problems with Fabian's mic. We'll wait for him to see if he can get this hooked up. Sometimes you can get the button mapped out, and looks like he's going to have to take off to get that fixed on his own. So let's switch over to the GTOs. Sean's going to talk to Yoni Hagner.
Oh, I get to talk to Yoni. All right. Well, Yoni, another great race, man. I don't know if you saw my comment this morning or today on the forums, but when it comes to drifting, buddy, you are Yoda, in my opinion. But today it wasn't about drifting. It was about hanging on. How did you do it? How did you hang on and beat Rob Olenek there at the end?
Well, not making big enough mistakes, so he didn't get a good run for me.
Yeah, and okay, so we saw lots of mistakes today on track. Not just from you, but from a lot of people. What was it? Where were the mistakes coming from today?
My setup was a bit too aggressive for the campers. and it was a bit hard to brake, so nothing major.
Well, a great way to start the season here for season 2 here on iRacing Kamel GT series. Do you plan to make most of the races this season?
If I can, yes.
Awesome. Well, hey, listen, congratulations on another win here in Kamel GT. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. We see.
All right. Our thanks to Joni Hagner. A great win today. Again, started on the pole, and he goes flag to flag. Not without a little bit of fun, Joe, between him and Rob Olenek. But I believe you finally connected with Fabian Gerber down there in Victory Lane.
Yeah, it looks like we might have the mic problems figured out. Fabian, how much were you mirror driving today?
I was pretty much only mirror driving. It was really tough. Arto is a tough MF, whatever. It's but it's great to battle with him. It's safe, but it always looked like he was faster when he was behind me, and when I was behind him, it looked like I was faster. So I guess we had pretty much the same speed.
Yeah, you guys could not get away from one another, and you had to deal with quite a bit of traffic. Now, we saw a number of other Nissans that really had some unfortunate incidents with the Audi class cars. Was there any moments that you were worried about coming up on them in, like, say, the kink or turn 7, places where it ended a few races, if we're honest?
Yes, the kink is very difficult. You actually have to really brake in there with 4th gear instead of flat out 5th, so you have to be really careful. The problem is that the difference between the cars, the speed difference is so big that it makes things very difficult to see how much you have to brake, how much to look forward, etc., look in front of you.
Now, does the fact that Arto beat you to the championship last season have anything to do with you trying to beat him, or is it you do not even think about it? Do you not consider the championship?
That early in the season I don't, but I tried to, of course. I had a very bad second half of the season last season, which destroyed everything, but every hope to win the championship. But this one started well, so I try to carry on like this, but it's always very difficult against Arto, so I say nothing yet.
All right. Well, like you said, you've started with a leg up on him, and hopefully that should give you at least a little bit of an advantage coming into the coming rounds. But congratulations on taking the win today. We hope to see you
Thank
next
you very
week.
much. I'll be there. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
That was our winner, Fabian Gerber, in the GTP class. Next, we have Rob Olenek, second place in the GTO. Sean, to talk to him about the other side of that epic battle we watched.
Yeah, Rob, boy, I'll tell you what, it started early. That battle started right off the beginning of the race, and then you guys were at it for an entire 45-minute stint there. Talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, that was a really fun race. I think Yanni had a little more speed than me, but the draft at that track helps a lot, and I just had to stay with them. I was hoping for a mistake, and every time, Nissans came through, or even other Audis, like, I would get a chance, and then I would screw up and miss a shift or something like that, and I was like, come on, like, I'm not going to get many of these. I got ahead at one point. I didn't really want to defend hard in the beginning, but if I had gotten ahead with any of those other mistakes, I would have started defending. But I think he's definitely a little faster. The side-by-side was awesome.
Yeah, I am feeling we're going to see that again. I don't think that one's going away anytime soon, Rob. That was, I'm just going to be frank, that was a hell of a battle, man. What is it like? I've never, honestly, I'm not very good, Rob. I've never been in a battle like that before. What is it? Give us the driver's perspective. I mean, how much adrenaline is really pumping there?
Oh man, I'm sweating my tail off right now. It's intense. I mean, you're just concentrating so much, ready to jump. Just concentrate on getting, every break point perfect. Like, especially battling someone like Yanni, like you really can't make a mistake. I think I probably drove the best I've ever drove today in that car. I mean, I definitely made little mistakes, but just like the rhythm and hitting everything right, I was doing well. And he's just I mean, he's awesome in this car. So just to get really close was pretty cool.
Well, it was a cool race indeed. Do you prefer it when it takes a while for the multi-class for the Nissans to get around? Do you prefer that just a little bit?
I don't know if I even have a preference. I love the multi-class aspect. That's one of the reasons. That's why Camel's one of my favorite to drive, especially the two cars. You know, after I've done it for so long now that it feels easy, and I feel like I have an advantage. So I like. I mean, I guess I would say I'd like it when they come through quicker. You do get unlucky though. I mean, you definitely get unlucky times.
Well, Rob, not unlucky today. You start off with a P2. It's a great way to start the points run this season.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week, buddy.
All right. See you guys.
And that is Rob Olenek, Joe. Heck of a day for him. And, well, you got next. Phil, in and around the lake.
Indeed. He managed to get a podium here in the P5 car. Well, it looked like you were going to have a little bit of fun with your old friend Jamie for a bit, and then suddenly it all went south for your teammate.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. We've had very similar pace all week, and it was a real shame to see him spin.
Now, from there, it wasn't completely smooth sailing all the way. You had the likes of Luis Emerton start to gain on you before he had a little bit of contact himself. How do you usually deal with pressure like that? Do you consider yourself fairly good when drivers start to chase?
No, it's probably my biggest weakness. I'm much better chasing people than I am when I have pressure from behind. It distracts me far too much.
I'm kind of with you on that. I do so much better trying to run someone down. Now, next week, it's going to be a very different track. This one, very long, a lot of long straights. Still some long straights at Phillip Island down in Australia, but multi-class racing there is a completely different beast. What are your feelings coming into that?
Just looking forward to having a bit more wing on the car, to be honest. It's this is my first race back in this car for quite a few seasons now, and it's a bit tricky when you get into the lower wing settings.
Yeah, thanks for abandoning us, Phil.
So I've got a little bit of time to catch up to Arto and Fabian. They're just a little bit out of my reach at the moment, but hoping to put them under pressure at the next couple of races. So.
Yeah, we talked about you and some of the regulars swapping classes like this. What goes into your decision making at the start of each season and which class you hop into?
Oh, it's a hard decision. I've been thinking about it for the last few weeks. My wheel broke last season, so I had a lot of time to sit around and think about it. And I wanted to change to the Nissan because I won the championship 2 seasons ago in the Audi, and I didn't think I'd ever do that. So I thought, well, I'll go into the Nissan and see if I can do it in there too. And but I still had this little part of me that wanted to stay in the Audi, so it was a very difficult decision.
It certainly seems like it. I always enjoy watching both cars, especially you in both cars. Again, congratulations on the podium today. Hope you're able to continue that throughout the season and maybe give Fabian and Arto a little bit of a challenge later on.
I'll be trying to. Yeah, thanks, guys.
That was Phil in and around the lake, and our final podium spot for the GTP class. That's going to close things out today and brings us to a few thank yous. Of course, a big thank you to Kamel GT for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and to iRacing for putting us on the iRacing Esports Network with, to me, one of the most exciting series we cover out of the many that we have here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Make sure and subscribe to IESN so that you don't miss a moment of this great season, which has certainly started with a bang. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC and including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, going down under to Phillip Island Saturday, March 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.